But for my poor brother, I mean, his younger years now splashed across television screens. It's not fair to him, but he really rolled with it, and he became quite close to the actor who plays him, and quite close with Malcolm as well. So it's great. It's been a blending of fake family and real family here in Newfoundland.
You know, I've had some pretty great scripts to read in my career, and some bloody awful ones. As long as you know the difference, that's the main thing. Some you do for the love, and some you do for the mortgage, and that's it. You know, and that's the way it is.
One of these days, we're gonna have to grow up. But today is not that day.
I don't want us to get older either.
As the years go by, you start to realize that it was the little things that were the big things. Like it or not, you have to learn to embrace the new you.
Well, this was my first experience with Son of a Critch, and I really, really enjoyed myself. And I'm curious as to, was there any pushback for the name?
No, not at all. You know, it's based on a book I wrote about my life growing up in Newfoundland. And that was the name of the book. And then it just seemed like a natural thing. Yeah, it never really came up, to be honest, you know, which surprised me. I was kind of, I wasn't really hearing anything other than just a title from being used to the book. But no, there was absolutely no pushback. So I guess that's pretty tame in today's world. If you're Googling something, you get in a lot more trouble by misspelling Critch than you can by having Son of a Critch.
Well, absolutely love the name. And so this is a show about your life. So I'm curious as to how you balance the reality of your upbringing with crafting an entertaining story.
Well, the spine of every kind of story is true. In the first episode, we find him getting his glasses, going to school, getting bullied, and then lying to the teachers about even owning glasses so he doesn't get beaten up. And that all happened to me. And school contact my parents. They're all upset. And same thing, my brother had a radio name on the radio and was no longer going by the family name as a disc jockey, and Dad was all upset. That all happened. So it's a matter of every episode, the spine of it is true. And then, you know, it might be something that happened 5 years later or 3 years before or what have you. And then you're crafting a lot of the stories for the other characters. Then you're trying to craft something that would fit into that episode as well. But we have such a talented cast, and we're like a family ourselves. We live in each other's pocket when we're filming. So it gets pretty easy to write for folks.
And I imagine that the reactions of some of your family members has been quite interesting. And so, like, what was it like to get someone with the gravitas of Malcolm McDowell to portray your own grandpa?
Well, we didn't think that. I mean, I'd never thought for a minute, you know. And then Malcolm had gotten the scripts, and then he said he liked them, and we had a meeting. He was very gracious and willing to come and do it. And so I just kept thinking, well, this is cool. I'm going to get to have a Zoom with Malcolm McDowell, but it's not going to happen. And my brother, who is portrayed in the show, and he works at the same radio station my father used to work at. It is kind of odd, you know, like your family. It's fine for me because I'm a comedian and I'm always doing this stuff. But for my poor brother, I mean, his younger years now splashed across television screens. It's not fair to him, but he really rolled with it, and he became quite close to the actor who plays him, and quite close with Malcolm as well. So it's great. It's been a blending of fake family and real family here in Newfoundland.
Well, Malcolm, I've always loved how varied your career has been, and you seem like you're having a lot of fun on this show. And one of my favorite aspects is how you hit on the nun. And as an actor, do you just relish in those looser moments?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just lovely because, you know, as a young kid, you've always been frightened of nuns. In Liverpool, you had to hold your collar when you saw a nun until you couldn't see them anymore. And it was kind of a good luck thing, you know, and superstition, I guess, really weird. So that nuns have always had this sort of, you know, mystique about them. So old Pops getting in and having fun with the nun in a sort of fun kind of romantic way, you know. I love it, you know, when he says, "Do you mind if I squeeze past your ass?" Just, you know, all stuff like that. It's just so much fun, and she's great. You know, she's a wonderful actress. Nora is just brilliant, and you know, so it makes it great. Everybody in it, though, are really bring their A game, you know, and it's such a great cast. And of course, you know, at the heart of it is little Benjamin, who's not little anymore, but he's a tremendous actor. And, you know, he could go on to the Royal Shakespeare Company or the National Theatre. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he suddenly called and said, you know, I've been offered this thing at the National. I wouldn't be surprised, because he's got the chops to be a fine actor, you know, and I don't mean just on a television show. I mean, you know, out there, and he could do it. He's really got great instincts as an actor, and that's very important.
And so you're such a storied actor, and so when a script shows up at your door, which element is the most important to you? Is it the character, the story, the dialogue?
You know, there is no set thing. You read it, and your instinct tells you yes or no instantly, you know, whether you're interested or not. And, you know, I've had some pretty great scripts to read in my career, and some bloody awful ones. As long as you know the difference, that's the main thing. Some you do for the love, and some you do for the mortgage, and that's it, you know. And that's the way it is. That's being a professional actor, you know. But this is one for love. I just love it, and yes, I am enjoying it. And if that comes across to the audience, I'm thrilled, because I want them to enjoy it with me.
Yeah, you seem to be having an absolute blast. And I have to mention, too, Metalocalypse is one of my favorite shows, so I was so happy to see you return in the recent movie. And I've always been so curious as to what the process is like when recording for that, because I imagine getting those scripts and being like, wait, what's happening in this episode? A clown does cocaine and tries to cause the apocalypse?
Often, I never read the scripts. I just arrived, and I went, what's my lines? Oh, here. Oh, okay, ready. How did I sound last time? Oh, let's play him a bit back. Oh, yeah, okay, got it. That's it. An hour later, you come out, you've done 2 episodes. So it's funny, you know, voice work. I love doing voice work, actually. It's really a lot of fun. It can be. And, also, it was the only way that my young kids could see or hear any of my work. Because the movies, they weren't allowed to see, because they were often, you know, a bit risque. So that's why I kind of did things, you know, and I did a lot of cartoons and stuff. But I do enjoy it. Voice is great. Anyway, thanks for mentioning that, because that's a terrific show.
Yes, it really is. And back to Son of a Critch, Mark, there's a great scene this season that's a full-blown Star Trek parody. And I'm always really curious as to how much permission is required from the Star Trek people, or does it fall under fair use? What went into that?
No, with that, we did have to get permission from Paramount. And originally I wrote it that way. You know, he's always daydreaming. So he goes into these fantasies. And I wanted it to be Star Trek, and then, of course, the first thing production will say to you is, well, can it just be like some space show? It's like, no, you would never daydream that you're on a made-up show. It has to be Star Trek. So I get in touch with Paramount. We're getting closer and closer, and everybody's like, we haven't gotten permission yet. I was like, it'll be fine. And then I'm like, they're getting too close. And then finally they come back and they say, yes, on one condition, as long as we can send you the uniforms, because they have to be the accurate ones. And we're like, well, okay. You know, and then they do that. And our production designer, Mark Steele, happened to be the production designer for Star Trek Discovery. So he was able to make us a beautiful Enterprise deck. And so you have to, same thing with like music. We have a lot of like great songs, and they're expensive to get on the show, songs from the 80s and the 60s and 70s, but it has to be the real thing for me, or it doesn't. We also, Marvel Comics came on board this year, because I had to sell my comic collection, so I get approvals from them and everything. And, you know, I guess Star Trek can't say no to you when the show is starring the man who killed Captain Kirk, Malcolm McDowell. So that helps too. I would also say, have one of the stars of the franchise you want to get in your cast, would be my advice to any aspiring filmmakers.
So if he asked me that question, I would say that, you know, William Shatner is actually a great fan of Critch. He loves the show. He makes sure that he watches it every episode he watches. And when he got a chance to get a little bit, he was all on board. In fact,
That's right.
was disappointed when he couldn't come and do it himself.
A better answer.
That would be my answer.
That'll be the headline for this interview.
Yeah.
So, and I was also thinking during the scene where the two teens are on the phone in the living room right in front of this family, is there ever a concern that younger generations will watch in bewilderment at these kinds of things since they get such privacy these days?
Oh, well, that you know what? We have found that I hear this a lot. Parents will watch the show with their kids, and sometimes grandparents, parents, and kids will watch together. And it's the only time they watch something together. Because for the parents, they feel like it's a show for them. And for the kids, they feel like it's a show for them. And I remember watching the Wonder Years in the 80s in the same way when I was a kid. And it's neat because it brings people together. And I heard a couple of times when the show first premiered that after the episode, kids would say, "Oh, that was cool. Let's watch the next one." And they're like, "There is no next one. You had to wait a week." And they're like, what are you talking about? "No, Mom. Oh my God, you're so stupid. You just click a thing. Where's the thing?" And they're like, "No, this came on." So they weren't some of the kids just had never watched like TV on a TV at a certain time. And that's just a changing world. But yeah, we get all ages watching together, which is a lot of fun.
It's always fun to tell younger people of like, that these weren't always just on demand. You couldn't just watch these whenever you wanted.
The phone used to be tied to the wall. They don't understand that. Yeah.
So I know that this follows your life, so that does a bit of the work itself. But do you have a structure for where you want the show to end up?
Where the final episode, you mean?
Yes.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I know when if we make it through high school, we're about to next year, if we're lucky enough, we'll start with high school, and then once he gets out of school, I think would be the main thing. Or maybe one day in the future we'll be casting someone to play you, and this Zoom will be it depends on how long, but I think the natural place was he gets out of high school and he's a young man now, and he's kind of he's on his path, and he's taking everything he can from the folks and those around him. He has to go out the door. Would be a natural point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I only got to see the first 2 episodes, and I can't wait to see the rest because the first 2 episodes really intrigued me. I love this kind of sitcom, and so I can't say enough good things about it. But I am from the horror side of JoBlo, so I have one last little question for Malcolm. It's been a while since we've seen you work with Rob Zombie. Do you have any plans for any future collaboration?
Certain things up there, I don't know whether it'll ever come to fruition, and I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's a classic story that Rob and I wanted to come up with, but and it's not a horror film. Rob is a terrific director, by the way, and I know he makes great horror movies, and they're scary as all hell, but he's a very sensitive, wonderful guy, and I would love to see him do a movie that's not in that genre, because I know he can do it. I know he can.
Yeah. Well, I loved his Monsters, so I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for talking with me today. This has been an absolute pleasure. You guys have a great rest of your day.
You too,
Thanks,
Tyler.
Ryan.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.
Happy holidays, man.
Yes, happy holidays as well. Bye.